If you're a fan of the Sly Guy podcast and you want to join the revolution that has seen 22 new patrons join up in the last week to get the bonus guest episode every Friday, both in your ears and in your eyes, head to www.patreon.com/Sly Guy podcast. We're putting the work in, we're making the content, we're putting it out there for you guys. People said, hey Dave, we want to see you get guests, and I said, alright, we'll get guests, but also we'll keep doing the regular Sly Guy podcast because that's how come up with material and stuff. But it's there, people are loving it, and the feedback's been amazing. This week's episode is going to feature Irish gymnastics legend Rhys McClenaghan. So if you want to see that, patreon.com/Sly Guy podcast. As well as that, you get other things like stand-up clips, sketches, short videos, other bits and bobs, and there's more to come because we're making a plan. Trust the process. Patreon.com/Sly Guy podcast. Enjoy the show.
I'm the Sly Guy.
Hello and welcome to the Sly Guy podcast with me, Dave Elliott. Listen, we're going to get in deep today, and I don't know why I'm doing a gun motion into the camera. For those that are listening in audio, watch it, go over to YouTube, subscribe over there, because I don't know, for some reason I'm pointing my finger at the camera like a gun, and I've shot a lot of rounds off there. I've shot a lot of rounds off, too many rounds. I'm going to stop doing that now because I'm a 35-year-old father of two. But anyway, welcome. Before I get balls deep into this week's podcast, I just want to say my show, Bits and Pieces, at the Ulster Hall on the 10th of September 2022 is on sale now. You can get the tickets via the link in my social media bio, or you can go into Google, type in Dave Elliott Ulster Hall. Now, admittedly, there's going to be two links. There's going to be one to that show, Pillow Talk, which, by the way, Ben, producer of the podcast, has to replace that photo, and he hasn't done it yet. And every week he doesn't replace it, he's fined £200. So next week we'll hopefully have the new poster up for this year's show, Bits and Pieces, at the Ulster Hall. My last show, Pillow Talk, in the Ulster Hall, was the most fun I've ever had on a stage in my life. The feedback was amazing, and I can't wait to do it again. So get on over, Ticketmaster, Ulster Hall, get your tickets, come see Bits and Pieces in September. Speaking of things to do, before you go and see the show, pre-drink. Don't get too drunk that you're a piece of shit, but get drunk enough to just feel loose. So you can lie back, laugh. I say lie back, sit back, don't lie down. It would be very off-putting and weird. But sit back, relax, and drink some Modest Beer, because Modest Beer are the sponsor of the Sly Guy podcast. They are OGs, the originals from day one. And we love Modest. We're Modest, they're Modest. This is what we're all about here. If you want to know more about Modest Beer, get on their website, www.modestbeer.co.uk. I was going to say /Sly Guy podcast, but don't do that because it doesn't exist. But go to their website, check them out on social media at Modest Beer on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and just drink their products. They're a delicious brewing company from right here in Hollywood County Down, home of the Sly Guy podcast. We love them, you love them. Enjoy the show, part 2, because we've already done that once. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, look at my eyes. Look at them. If you're listening with your ears, what can you hear? I tell you what you can hear. You can hear a refocused, intense, rested Dave Elliott. I have been on my holidays and I am feeling rejuvenated. I'm feeling invigorated. I'm feeling excited, emancipated, ejaculated, and ready to give this podcast what it needs, and that's energy. And I mean, there's my wires in because this computer needed energy. I've got energy. I'm recharged, and I'm feeling good. Albeit, I went on holidays potentially, somewhere in the region of 2 weeks after I just started doing comedy and podcasts full time. So within a couple of weeks, I'm like, nah, I need a holiday already. It's too much, but it feels good. Before I went on holidays, I was like, oh no, I have too much work to do. Why am I going on holidays when I've just left my job? Shit, what a stupid bastard. But hey, I'll tell you why, because everybody needs to relax sometime. I think I've come back, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling relaxed, and hopefully you guys will get a pretty fun episode. I went away with my family, took a bit of time in a forest, I was going to say the commune, in a cult, just running about in white flowing garments for a couple of days, and I feel suitably relaxed. Now, is that potentially because of a bit of a hangover? Probably, maybe, but I'm back. I'm feeling good. I don't know how I look. I've not actually looked at the video on this podcast. It could look terrible. I got a haircut before I went. Hopefully it looks good still. Ben, give me a nod ahead. Does the hair? Thank you. I'm looking sharp, albeit I'm wearing a terrible mustard hoodie. I don't know why I picked this, because it was on holidays and all my other nice stuff is dirty. But I went away with my wife and my kids for a few days, and another family, a friend of mine and his wife and his kids, and we went to a Centre Parks down south, and it was a lot of fun. You know, it was a nice time. I was busy right up until the night before we went. At a gig actually at the Hatfield, which was nice. It was a fun time. It was the first gig I think I've done this month, so it was nice to get back into it. Obviously a lot of uncertainty going on, so it was good to do that gig. And then as soon as I finished, I got this weird tinge of excitement, because the whole lead up I was like, oh no, I have so much work, what am I going to do? This is supposed to be my job. I'm taking a holiday after 2 weeks, fuck. But then holiday happened, drank a lot of beer, and now I'm feeling zen as can be. And before I went away, I like to work, right? This is the thing, I don't know about you, Ben, but I can't. I'm a very much a man who's a bridge crosser when I get to it. So if I know there's something happening before I'm doing something, I can't get excited. So if I know shit, I've got X, Y, and Z to do before I go on holidays, I'm not going to be excited about my holidays, because then I know I'll fuck up what I have to do prior to the holidays. So when I had gigs, I podcasts to record, at people to do and places to see, I just couldn't get excited. And I also thought to myself, I don't really deserve a holiday, because I'm just back from Christmas really, and I probably should be, doing work. But as soon as that happened and we went, I was like, yeah, sweet, relax, get myself in the lazy river, get my Speedos on, have a good time. Now you're probably going, why are you wearing Speedos in January? When I go on holidays, I wear Speedos. It is what it is. But yeah, it was class. Have you ever been to Centre Parks yourself, Ben? No. Have you ever been to any kind of place that involves a forest?
Whenever I was younger, I went to Trabolgan.
Excuse me, sorry, what?
Trabolgan.
Trabolgan sounds like a shit person in a Roald Dahl film, like a baddie in a Roald Dahl book. Oh, Trabolgan stole the tallywhacker, whatever that may be. Where's that?
Somewhere down south, I think.
Nice, down south. Yeah.
I was young, I just got in the car and Mum and Dad drove down.
Nice. And what did you do when you got to Trabolgan?
Walked, cycled around the forest.
Yeah, well that kind of sounds exactly like what Centre Parks was, but it was really good. For me, like I've before, like I think I got married and had kids, I would have been very much I like to go somewhere very hot. I like to go somewhere where I can just get really drunk and just lie by a pool all day. When I have kids, you need to entertain them with activities and things like that. And I went to Centre Parks in the summer and had a real good time there. Enjoyed it a lot. Went to the Longleat one, which is over in England. This time I went to Longford, which is down south, which is my now it's a must. I'll only go to places with the word long in it. I insist. I'm only going on holidays if it's got long in it. Other than that, I'm not doing it. So I went to Longford, and it was a bit of a different experience. You know what I mean? It was bizarre, because obviously Centre Parks are kind of uniform everywhere you go. It's pretty much the same kind of vibe, except like I don't want to offend anybody here, because I know obviously we live in quite a divided society where people have views. But to me, anytime I go down south, I just get the vibe of, and again, no offense, because I love everyone, but it's like just culchies. It just seems like widespread culchies everywhere. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but for someone like me that lives in a castle in the Gold Coast of North Down, it's strange. Like whenever I stop at a service station, you get things like maybe, baps, sandwiches, maybe burgers, French fries. You get sometimes potato wedges, that sort of stuff. Anytime, as soon as you cross in to the Republic of Ireland, any service station you can get full Sunday roast. You can just get everything. You can get cabbage. You can get cabbage with absolutely everything down there. And I mean, I like it because cabbage is good. Our Sunday roast dinner is nice, but I just don't know the logistics of how you could eat a Sunday, like how you can have roast beef, mashed potatoes, cabbage and gravy whilst you're riding shotgun in a car. It's not conducive to like being able to eat with a sandwich. You can just force it in there. You're all good. But I don't know, but these guys, they just love it. And like anytime I went to get, like today, I stopped on the drive home, because yes, after 3.5 hour drive, I'm in doing this podcast, dedication. But whenever we stopped in a place in the middle of the countryside somewhere, and we're trying to find a McDonald's, and they're like, it's 30 miles to the nearest McDonald's. So I was kind of like, when like you watch these, this is so offensive. Whenever you watch these movies, and like normal people in like America end up like somehow find themselves in the little like country towns, and then people are like chewing on grain and stuff, and they're like, their eyes are all crossed, and they're like watching these normal people in like regular matching clothes. Because that's another thing, again, no offense, but people south of the border, they're not keen on matching. You know, they'll just wear any different garment, but they'll never match. They'll wear a black jacket with navy, very skin tight tracksuit bottoms, and they'll wear like pink shoes, a green hat, and then they'll have like yellow gloves on. It just doesn't match. It's a weird setup. But again, very friendly bunch. Very friendly bunch. So we were coming home, couldn't find a McDonald's anywhere. The kids were starting to get a bit antsy. So we stopped in this town, which was like very it was very quiet. You know, now again, there's a lot of Irish language signage and stuff about the place, and you know me, fluent. I was able to finally show my skills. So that was pretty good. Went into this the shop, which was called like Ian's. I think it was Centra, but instead of just being called Centra, it was known as like Ian's Centra. So like down there, it's like, nah, we could just call it Centra, but it's not franchised. Ian owns it. So Ian maybe had a shop, and it was like Ian's shop. Centra bought it, and he's like, tell you what, fuck that. I'm not fucking calling it Centra. It's my, I am Ian. It's fucking my shop. So he kept calling Ian like Centra, Ian Centra. So I did Ian's Centra. I thought I'd get myself some sandwiches for the kids. Asked my wife, she's like, what do you want? She just being typically awkward was like, put anything. Now I know she wanted a McDonald's, so I'm like, you obviously want some sort of battered fish because you're a vegetarian, which is weird because, you know, fish lives matter, but don't worry about it. So she said, just get me anything, which is difficult for me because then the pressure's on me. So whatever I get her, she's not going to like. So I'm going to bring her back something. She's like, oh, this is the most annoying thing about a wife. You'll say to them, what would you like? And they'll go, just get me anything. Then you'll get them anything that you think they'll like, and they'll go, actually I really wanted this. And you're like, well, why didn't you just tell me what you wanted? That avoids any difficulties. That's fine. So I'm like, I decided to her I would get her an egg and onion sandwich. That's alright. So that's what I said in my head before I went in. My 1-year-old, she was just in the back seat, just screaming like some sort of wild beast, and I just thought, ham and cheese sandwich does that, wee freak, not a problem. Then I said to my 4-year-old, what do you want? And she was like, and now this is what a 4-year-old shouldn't do. You shouldn't him to think about what you want for lunch. You should just be like, just get me something. I probably shouldn't have asked her. Probably should have just said, I'll get you something. I went, what would you like? She went, probably chicken, mayonnaise and sweet corn sandwiches, Daddy. I'm like, how the fuck do you even know what that is? And then I said to Catherine, I was like, how does she know what that is? She was, oh, we got her like a sandwich filler and a sandwich once, and she just liked it. So, and I said, but how does she know exactly what it is? Would she not just say stuff for the sweet corn? She's like, nah. So I went in this shop. I was the only person in there wearing trainers. Everyone else had Wellington boots on. It was that kind of town. It was a farming community. Again, all culchies. I think if you leave North Down, it's all culchies. You have Belfast, which is like it's just a wee clan, a wee conclave in the middle of the island of Ireland, and the rest all culch. You know, like I think of the culchies, right, like, you know, Terminator 2 Rise of the Machines, or Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, potentially Terminator 4 Rise of the Machines, I don't know which one, but there's a Terminator movie called Rise of the Machines. If there was like, you know, if people want the United Ireland, see, or they want the, I don't know, but whatever you want, see if it was Ireland Rise of the Culchies, we'd be overthrown. I'd have to surrender the kingdom of North Down because you couldn't stop them, too many of them. But a lot of guys in there, a lot of welly boots kicking about. There's a guy standing in front of me, he's speaking what I think initially is our mother tongue, Gaelic, and then I realised, no, he's not speaking Gaelic, he's just speaking English but very fast. He's like, because then my ears picking up, and he's like, and then I was like, and then I was like, is that Gaelic? But I couldn't hear any esh anywhere. So like, I was like, I'd have gone, ah yes, we're speaking, but I couldn't hear the esh. I could just hear the thing. And then they had this weird exchange back and forward while I'm standing there being like, I'm standing like a sore thumb because I'm kind of, like, my clothes match. I'm wearing trainers and there's not a pick of mud on me. I'm like, they're going to look at me like he's an outsider, and potentially, like in the Hills of Eyes, they're going to just hit me over the head with something, drag me in a cave and eat me. But obviously with cabbage and gravy, no doubt. But as I'm standing there, they have this wee exchange. Oh, but Jesus, and then she just hands him this like black bottom piece of plastic with a clear plastic top on it. What's inside it, Ben? Can you guess? What is inside the parcel? She hands this guy roast beef, cabbage, potatoes and gravy. There you go. So then I walk up and I'm doing that, like, you know, whenever you're an underage kid and an off license, you're walking in, you're going, what is there? You know, weird thing about it, see if you're a child, you're underage and you're in an off license, don't dress like your dad, because you look rare. Like whenever I went to office underage, I'd be wearing like a sleeveless check shirt, which by the way would be such a baller move to walk in, just with the full guns out, to be like. But I was wearing a short sleeve check shirt, pair of like navy trousers and brogues, which is not something anybody of 18 to 20 would wear. So everybody looking at me going, and I'm walking in there going, shit, hard day at the office here, the wife's busting my balls. And then you'd imagine be like, do you have a bottle of Jameson's, or do you have maybe a few tins of Carlsberg? That's what you think what maybe, you know, a hardened married man would do. But I walk in there and flipping checked shirt, short sleeves, wearing the navy trousers, brogues, talking about how my wife's stressing me out. I'm like, fuck, I had a hard day fucking at the office, get home, my wife bust my balls here again. Can't do wrong for doing right, fuck's sake. Can I have a big beastie and quarter bottle of Goldschlager mucker? And he's like, what? You really have fucking lost the plot. This man's life is spiraling. If you're a married man with a job, you should never be ordering Goldschlager and big beastie ever. It's inexcusable. You know, if that happened, there should be a hotline to PSNI to be like, listen, you need to, this guy's in trouble. Get the ID off him and go to his house because he's on the edge. Which another thing I like about down south, you don't phone the PSNI, you phone the guards. What a great name. They just guard you. They guard a Chicona. Great bunch of people. But anyway, so I'm down there, I'm ordering sandwiches, and the woman's looking at me like this. She's like, well, first of all, I went, can I just have the chicken bits in the baguette, please? And then can I have an egg and onion sandwich? And she was like, do you want butter or mayo? And I thought that was a trick question. Like, if you say mayo, they're like, get him. But I was like, oh no, butter. The whole time she's looking at me like this, she's just making the sandwiches, knowing where everything is, never breaking eye contact with me, being like, what is this weird accent this posh twat saying? You know, and then she just put it all together and off I went. And believe it or not, Catherine, delighted to get an egg and onion sandwich. Holly was like, this is fine, it's fucking chicken and sweet corn mayo. And the baby just basically took her ham and cheese sandwich and just fucked it all over the car, just cheese everywhere, ham everywhere, and just rubbed the butter in her face, just ruined her skin, didn't eat anything. And then when I got her home and took all the bags out of the car, there was just the entirety, it was like a Ravensburger jigsaw with just the entirety of pieces just strewn them across the car. So by the time I gathered it all out, I don't think she actually ate anything. And then what else did I give her? Yeah, that's sort of being a nutritional guy. I gave my kids sandwiches, and then I bought them wee dairy milk each. No, wee dairy milk, a wee milky bar each. And then I bought a packet of, this is the mug off, I bought a packet of pretzel flips for myself, because I used to love them from my childhood, but don't really see them kicking about that much these days. So I bought a packet of pretzel flips for myself. But then Catherine was like, did you buy that for the kids? And I didn't want her to be like, you greedy fat bastard. So I went, yeah, of course I did. And then Holly thankfully didn't like the pretzel flips. Matilda just took them and just smeared them all over her face. And I had to like shout her, I'm like, listen, I'm a comedian, you know, I'm an entertainment guy, like I put stuff out there. I can't have any photos of you, whether you're one or not, doing blackface. It's not appropriate anymore. So please, can we wipe this child's face? I don't want to be associated with that. I don't find it funny or entertaining. I find it offensive. Stop doing it. And that's where we got to. So we got home, you know, it was a good trip, very relaxing. Did a lot of swimming, which is weird. Like, that's a lot of stuff were closed in Centre Parks because of COVID. Again, there's different COVID restrictions everywhere. Down there, a lot of stuff was closed. All that was open was the subtropical what was it called? The subtropical something paradise. But it was basically just a big swimming pool, you know, with a lazy river in it. And then another thing really pissed me off, children were allowed in the hot tubs, and I don't. There's no discipline there, you know. That's another thing. Irish mammies and daddies, they don't discipline their kids like us in the Kingdom of North Down do. Like, my kids were regimented like Nazis. My kids are like the Hitler Youth. You know, say what you want about the Hitler Youth, but they're disciplined, alright? Maybe their morals aren't the best, but they're in order. Their shoes are polished and they behave. But like some of these kids kicking about this subterranean tropical paradise, that's what it's called, the subterranean tropical paradise. You know, I didn't like it. And, you know, one thing that happened to me, it was a bit of a moment, was that there was a couple, right? And this is something I bet I need you on the mic for this, because I need to ask a secondary opinion on this. If you're at something like with your kids and somebody pushes in front of you or gets in the way, do you get super angry and defensive of your like does that annoy you more than anything if someone is like ignorant when you're around your kids? So like say you're in a queue for like a slide, you're ready to go down a water slide and someone pushes in front, what would you do in that instance?
I would probably not necessarily be aggressively angry towards the person in front, but make a point with the kids. We will walk away back in front of this person, and then once you're in front, then you can be all high and mighty and kind of get them out of the luck and let the kids know. Don't be pushed about. Well,
what I do is just act. I can't control myself. Like I've said before on the podcast about the naughty boy at the top of the slide. Do you remember this story? I had my daughter, 4-year-old daughter, at a new play park that had just opened, and there was this big slide, and it was a circular slide, so it was like a tunnel slide, you know. And there was this boy who, he came to the park by himself on an electric scooter, and he must have been about 5 or 6. Yet there was an old man who followed behind him, and there was no way the old man could be his dad. Maybe it was a grandfather, maybe it was, but the old man never stopped looking at his phone. He was on his phone the whole time. And I was like, there's something a bit shady about this. This kid came, parked the scooter up, just climbed the top of this slide and just lay in it and started kicking. Just kicking the side of the slide, which made an almighty bang. It sounded like one of those, you know, Jamaican brass bands. I was like, annoying my 4-year-old who I was with. She was only 3 at the time. This is an important point. I climbed up there. It was hard for her to climb the top of the slide. So like, there was the ladder wasn't just a straight up ladder. It was like, you know, one of those like circular ladders that they have nowadays to try and work on the kids like dexterity and stuff. She climbed up the top of that and got to the point where she couldn't get down the slide because this kid was in it. So now the height of was just about to here. So I was able to be like, listen, I was like, here mate, can you go down the slide? Wee kid looked at me and was like, no. And then start kicking, dum 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 dum. My next thought as a parent is, where's his guardian? Because if this was one of my kids acting a dick, I again, like I said, Hitler Youth kids, I would discipline them. You know, I probably, you know what, instead of Hitler Youth, probably should have just said Scouts or Brownies. You know, that's probably the vibe, but disciplined anyway. I'd be like, listen, get down a slide and let the other kids have a go. This kid was just not for moving. A few other kids had started getting in line. I started getting a bit stressed out because I'm like, I'm the person of authority here. I can't let like a 6-year-old besmirch me in front of all these people. Then a real angry mum shouted up the slide being like, would you hurry up? Because obviously her wee daughter was there. And I had to take, you know, action. I couldn't let that kid just mug me off because then this mum was going to come up and she would have done something to get rid of the kid. So I thought, you know what? I need to show this kid who's boss. I need to show my daughter that I've got her back, and I need to show these line of other kids that I don't know that you don't fuck with this guy. So I was just like, listen mate, you going to go down a slide? And he went, no. And then I just looked over my shoulder, realised nobody was behind me to see. I shoved the fucker down the slide. So he went down the slide, kind of at an angle over his head, came out the bottom all dazed. But like everyone else at the bottom hated the wee cunt, you know, pardon my French, but they did. All the other parents were loving it. I was at the top of the hill, like fucking Maximus Decimus Meridius. Are you not entertained? And then my wee daughter just scooted down all sweet in her wee dress and all. It was very, very sweet. But in this particular moment, there were these two people who were full adults, right? And they kind of cut in front of us in a line. And it was like, nah, don't be at that. Don't be doing that. So I just looked and realised we were poolside. So what I did was lift my daughter up. And then whenever I lifted her up, I went, oi! But when I swung myself around, I bumped the guy into the water. Now, the guy came out of the water, right? And like when he came out of the water, he made this weird noise, like, Hurr! And I was like, what a strange noise that is, right? Then the woman he was with started like doing all these hand gestures towards him. And I was like, oh, sorry. Turns out the two of them were deaf people. And they were like making, you know, like they clearly mustn't have like caught on that what was going on. This is this the deaf couple doing these gestures with each other. Maybe didn't have the sense to know what was going on with the line. I, on purpose but accidentally, pushed the guy into the water. So I kind of, you know, in hindsight felt bad that I pushed the disabled person into the water, which is not decent to me to do that. But at the same time, you know, you got to treat people equally. You know, across the board, I believe in equal rights for all. So, you know, if a full hearing person had done that, I would have pushed them in, you know, stealthily too. But then it was awkward. Then later on, the two of them came up whenever I was with my kids and all, and they're like in this sort of, not jacuzzi bit, but it was outdoor swimming pool, but had a wee bit of bubbles, and they kind of sat a bit too close to me. Like normally I would have been annoyed by it, being like, would you just get your own space, like get your own. But I felt bad because of what I'd done earlier. They assumed it was an accident. I was all apologetic, but inside I knew I did that on purpose. So, how's your day been? You know, you assault any disabled people today, or you just kind of, you know, not?
My day's very boring in comparison to that, no.
Yeah, but listen, I love my kids. This is a Sly Guy podcast. Sometimes you need to do dark arts to protect your kids, and that's the end of it. And speaking of kids, there's one thing I read that got my blood boiling this week. People were... Did you see this article? Get on Mike, Ben. Did you see this article about... maybe the Daily Mail? People giving off because David Beckham posted a picture of him kissing his 10-year-old daughter on the lips.
No, but I can imagine.
Yeah. They were basically being like... I know you've kids. Do you kiss your kids on the lips?
Yep.
Yeah, you have a daughter, yes? You kiss her on the lips?
Yep.
You have a son, do you kiss him on the lips?
Yeah, but
Gay?
he's
No.
now starting to be a bit like, nah.
Yeah, no, but that's... You know what? I kiss my daughters on the lips. That's fine. You know what the problem is? I bet the people saying that David Beckham shouldn't kiss his daughter on the lips don't have kids. Because I think those people complaining about that... Like, I think it was Hilary Duff before put a picture of her... outside like the magical kingdom in Disney, kissing her son on the lips. She put a photo up, and I love this from Hilary Duff because I think she just went balls in. She was like, nah, fuck it, I'm kissing my son, I don't give a fuck. You guys can hate all you want, but I'm doing it. And that's the attitude I have, because I think if you don't have kids, people put sexuality into everything. Do you know what I mean? Everything's sexual. Oh, David Beckham should kiss his daughter. Now, see if Bex is kissing his daughter with tongues, problem. But see if it's just a kiss and you peck. It's love. Like my 4-year-old comes up to me, wants to give me a hug. I'm going to hug her. I'm not going to be like, nah. She wants to give me a kiss. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just a kiss on the lips. This is a problem. People don't know. You know what I mean? This is the issue with society. Everybody nowadays wants everything to be sexual. And it's not. Because, Ben, the love you have for your kids, like nothing is better. Like nothing to me is better than hugging your kids. And then when they love it and they reciprocate, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, yes, there are probably perverts out there for sure, but not like I'd say majority of parents are like me and just love their kids. And I'm sure like Beckham, he like how many kids does he have? Like 4, you know, and he kisses boys. You know what I mean? Like that's just what he does. I think that's.
I know people who are in their 30s who still kiss mum and dad on the lips.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't still kiss my mum on the lips or my dad on the lips, because I think my dad probably knocked me out if I tried to kiss him now. But like, you know, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But that's because I think we stopped, like your boy, you know, whenever you get to an age, you just maybe don't want to do it anymore. Like I still hug my mum, still hug my dad. I kiss my mum on the cheek all the time. Do you know what I mean? My dad would sometimes kiss me like on the cheek, but it's only if like
he's had a few drinks.
He's A, had a few drinks, B, taking some poppers, or C, like I've done something that he's proud of. Like after I did the Ulster Hall, give me a big hug, kiss me on the cheek. You know, it was a nice moment. But like, I hate when people give up, and it's always people wanting to complain. You know what I mean? See, if you go out to want to complain, you're going to complain. Like I've made a podcast off the back of complaining about stuff because I like to complain. But see, stuff like this, bullshit. You know what? And I like the Beckhams not being like sorry about it, because you know what's the problem? Do you know what I mean? And these are the same people who are like, oh my goodness, this is probably use the word problematic. It's problematic. Beckham kissed his daughter. You know what Beckham should say is problematic? Your attitude. And you know what you can kiss? His ass. So there you have it. I'm sick of that sort of shit. I love to see Beckham do that. And see, as long as my daughters want to kiss me on the lips, I'll let them kiss me on the lips. No problem. I'll hug. Now, albeit I did get shouted at by my wife for kissing my baby on holidays, because she started to have like snots coming out her nose, and my wife Catherine was like, see if you're sick again, like you got a cold a couple of weeks ago and you started writing your will, you need to not get sick again. I can't cope with you being sick because you're a melter. And I was like, alright, I'll try to avoid germs, but nothing more I love than just my wee, just my kids. And see, you spend a couple of days with them without any work. See, that was the big thing. I'd said to myself, right, I'm going to stop working. I'm not going to, if emails are important, I'll get back to them, but I'm not going to like be like work. It's just me, the girls having a great time. We loved it. I had a really good time with them. And yeah, I just love my kids. They're great. Being a dad, above all else, is the most fun. And like, I just think, people need to fucking chill out. Seeing people complaining about Boris Johnson or seeing people complaining about David Beckham, like, I don't know about you, Ben, but like, seeing this thing about Boris Johnson's party, people being outraged by it. Duh. What? Look at the guy. He's got hair like a toddler, and he's the PM. The guy's an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. Like, people are now at the stage where they are shocked by politicians being scum. Like, see, if you get to the top level of politics, you're a scumbag. You don't get to that level without being willing to shit on people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are some politicians out there with great intentions. I'm sure there are people out there who want to, see change in society and whatever else. But they're probably entry-level politicians. They're people like with it, like community activists that maybe want to get a mandate to do. But see, the further you go up, like the brown envelopes, you take the money, the fucking scumbag. Of course Boris Johnson's going to go to a party. Of course the Tories are going to that. Because they're pieces of shit. Of course they are. Of course Prince Andrew's of course he is. Well, we shouldn't be shocked by this. What we should do is not vote for the same people that are fucking doing this kind of shit. And not be shocked that Boris will go out and say, do one thing, and then he'll just be getting blitzed. Fuck that. Annoys the hell out of me. And then people from here complaining as well. And then you look at our politicians and go, come on, look at them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sad because I love the country. I love it. I love where I'm from. I love being a king of North Down, all that jazz, all that fucking joke and whatever else. But see the way things are. Like, I have stopped getting involved, like, not involved in politics, but I have stopped like getting annoyed by stuff that happens in politics here because it's ridiculous. We're governed by two parties who don't care about the people. Oh, nish. All they care about is themselves. Now, they'll say they care about the people because that's what the people want them to say, but in reality, nah. You know what? See now, the one thing I will say, not a big fan, obviously, of the DUP. So, just want to put that out there. I wouldn't vote for DUP. Wasn't a big fan necessarily of when Edwin Poots got voted in. Didn't think that was the best idea in the world. However, when he did go against the DUP to put a First Minister in place, I thought respect to that because that made things, be taken over. If there's no Stormont, what are we going to do? Do you know what I mean? What about, like, it's all well and good. See, wanting the United Ireland or wanting to be part of the UK and all this. That's like, what, 4 or 5 things? Like, probably 10 down. Like, see, the day-to-day, that's what I think most normal people want to see. Are like jobs, houses, things like that. Opportunities for people, education. That's the stuff that more money for households. Working on social housing, things like that. Not the fucking the green and the orange of it. That's all fucking like one of the real. But all people care about, is that. Oh, no to the sea border. Hey guys, shocker. There's already a sea border because the rules and laws are totally different to what there is in the UK anyway. So that's hypocrisy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey, it is what it is. But, we're still startled. The politicians are pieces of shit. It is what it is. And it just makes me sick to my stomach. But don't look into it anymore because it's just annoying me. Boris is what Boris is. Boris is a multi-millionaire guy. Taking his offer. Like, does he want to actually make decisions? Nah, he just wants to do. He just wants to stash, he wants the parties. Bullshit. They're all bullshit. All politicians at that level stink. And I think we should vote for different. But here's the thing, we'll always vote for the same. And I don't get why. There you go. That's what annoyed me this week. And that all stemmed from David Beckham kissing his daughter. So what I think we should all do is kiss bye-bye to the parties that are currently running things. Try something different. Vote in different parties just to see, because it's a shambles. Bring back Farage. I don't mean that. That's a wee joke. Anyway, Ben, how long have we been talking for? I feel like it's been ages.
Just over half an hour.
Just over half an hour. It's long enough, isn't it? Can I go home now, do you think? Nope. Alright, sweet. Now what I would like you to do, if you enjoy the podcast, sweet, please rate and review it. Go over to Apple Podcasts or whatever, get a 5-star, say you like it, and you know that helps the podcast, because we've been focusing, Ben, in terms of what we've been focusing on as producers of the podcast. What's been your take on the changes? Again, we speak about Patreon a bit at the start of the podcast, but in terms of the changes, what are you getting if you support the podcast on Patreon? Like, what is the reason for us having a Patreon? What is the benefit from a production side of things?
Probably just better equipment, which means the quality goes up as well.
Yeah, no, we did speak about what we wanted to do. A lot of people were saying they want guests. The Sly Guy podcast is what it is. It is a, when it came in for it, when I started a solo podcast, it was to break away from the Boytown podcast and just riff on ideas, rant about things, be silly. That's why I did the Evaluate's Weird podcast. Over time, it's changed to this. Now, people that listen like this podcast, yes, but there's also people that want guests. That's fair enough. I want to give as much content and as good a level content as I can, and if the people want guests, I'll give them the guests, but that's on Patreon. So if it's some great guests coming up, I have another 4 episodes I'm recording this week. It's all happening there. So head on over to patreon.com/Sly Guy podcast, get all that bonus content, as well as sort of better contact as well with myself and Ben. We're going to be working on Patreon a lot more on trying to change things up a little bit too, try and keep the content coming in each day, but also maybe have better interaction with stuff. Response on merch. That's a big thing we're looking at the minute, is the next move. But you know, hopefully you still enjoy the day-to-day podcast, the weekly Sly Guy podcast, and then if you want to head over to Patreon, you'll get, you know, the bonus guest podcast. You'll also get the extra Sly audio only podcast, the Dog Walks with Davey podcast, and so on and so forth. But it's a lot of fun, and I feel like it's finally getting where it should go. And as I say now, the more we get out of Patreon and the more subscribers we get, the more we can go in, and the more work we can do, and the better it will be overall. So as you can see, we've got the 2 mics, the same setup. Ben's over there. He doesn't have to even come to the studio to do the recordings with me. That's good and handy, isn't it? You can just sit at home, edit it, and I can, you know, sit here with no trousers on. It's all good. But that's Patreon. So we'll fire through these listeners' questions. I'll let you get home, because I have to record a Patreon podcast after this, before I get to go home, and I also need to go to the toilet, which I mean would be awkward. We could get Ben to stop, but it would be sly to like cut the podcast for like 30 minutes or whatever it takes me to go to the toilet, and then come back for him to. It wouldn't be fair. It would be sly. But then again, that's what happens when you stop at a super value in the middle of nowhere and eat roast beef, cabbage, potatoes, and gravy. Mike Anderson has said, "Hey Papa Bear, me and my soon-to-be missus are getting married this summer. Congratulations. Do you have any wedding day do's and or don'ts or tips for a happily married life? Love the show. Keep up the great work." Thank you very much, Mike. My tips for wedding day, what I would say, there's going to be, like, listen, get your notepads out here, because I think I have a few tips for the wedding day. My tip for the wedding day, first and foremost, is once you get married, like once you do the ceremony, you say the I do's and you have the snog and whatever else, take 10 to 15 minutes away, just you and your wife. The 2 of you just go away, have a drink, have a sit down, just take yourselves away from the crowds for a minute and just spend a bit of time together, because the rest of the day you're just going to be flat out with other people. I found myself on my wedding day, that was a really great wee minute to just be like, oh shit, we just got married, wow, chat about things, you know, just have a nice moment, share a wee drink, you know, and have a bit of a chat before you just basically go around every single person you've ever known your whole entire life. And a lot of people, albeit you will not know, will be like, oh, congratulations. You're like, oh, I'm really bad with names here, but cheers. You know, it's very stressful. I will say too, a lot of people feel they can't get drunk on their wedding day. My advice would be, don't go chasing it. You know, don't be trying to get blocked. By all means, do what you need to do. spend a bit of time with wife, but also at the same time spend a bit of time with your closest group of friends. Maybe I took a wee half hour away from my wedding ceremony after we'd done the speeches and everything. I went away, couple of shots with the boys, you know, bit of crack, smoked a cigar, maybe smoked a little bit of herbal stuff. I don't know what was going on, but it was a good time. And all I'm saying is whenever I returned from that, I was up for a lot of fun. You know, I was up for a real good time. I was ready to dance, and it was a great time. I'd also recommend get some classic track. Get a DJ that's going to play some like 90s dance music. That always gets the people going. A lot of fun too. And also don't stress too much about the speeches, because people are there for the wedding, not the speech. So a lot of people put too much pressure on the speech. It ends up being a bollocks. Say what you need to say, enjoy it, get it over with, have a nice time, and most importantly, it's about you and your wife. So just relax, enjoy that. In terms of a happy life, my advice would be don't go against anything your wife says ever. That's the long and short of it. But in all seriousness, see if she wants to do something that you doesn't bother you if it happens or not, just go with it, you know. Only step in if there's something you're adamant that you don't want to get. For example, when we were getting the kitchen put in, Catherine wanted to get these like little knob handles put in to like open doors and cupboards, but I've big freak bear claw hands, and I don't like to do that wee motion. It hurts my forearm doing that. It's sore and it's difficult, and didn't want to do that, so I insisted on handles. She's like, no, it'll not look right for the kitchen. And I went, well, hey, fuck it, I'll break them all off with my big freak hands. So get handles. I got handles. So my advice is don't argue about stuff if you don't really care about it. You know, a lot of times Catherine cares about the decor of the house and all. It doesn't really bother me. See if it's functionable, no problem. But do stand your ground if it's something you don't want. So just go, if you don't mind about something, go with it. If it's something you don't want, absolutely say, nah, I'm not happy with this, not comfortable with that, and then she'll be grand. But ultimately she's the boss in my house, does all this. I'm just like them. I don't want to say the master, that's totally the wrong term, but I'm kind of like, you know, a wise old like monk or something. Like, I don't ever do the day-to-day stuff, but you know, when the big decisions or questions are needed, they come to this wise old monk at the top of this Tibetan mountain and be like, do you agree with that? And the monk will go, That's what I just go, And then also hold in the back of your mind the one thing you want more than anything, which for me is a reclining chair just for myself in my living room, which one day, my friend, I will get. But congratulations on your impending marriage. And listen, if you want me to do a wee video message or something for your wife just to wish her a happy wedding day, get in touch with Ben, not me. Brendan Smith has said, King of North Down, please would you do me the pleasure of tugging my slug. Now this guy has a sort of stressed out looking fox as his profile picture, so you know, maybe he is a slug, maybe there's a slug on his fox body, or he's insinuating something else. Either way, no. Name cannot be blank has said, is Mr. Todd a bit light on his feet? Well, either it's 1974 or you want to know if he is agile, and I'm going to assume you mean the latter. So we'll say, yeah, the man is very agile. But awful question. Francis Bannon has said, is it weird to go to comedy gigs by yourself? None of my mates are interested in going to what sort of mate? Dump the mates. None of my mates are interested in going to any gigs, and I'm sick of missing them because I don't want to go alone. You know what? Believe it or not, there would be more people going to gigs by themselves than you would assume. You know, it's not as like, I think the only people that think going to gigs by themselves are weird are the people who are talking themselves out of not going to the gigs by themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go to the gig by yourself, people aren't going to be looking over at you going, oh, look at that freak, look at that loner. You know, they won't now, albeit if you sit too close to the stage, a comedian will say that. I've done that myself to people. But listen, there's no shame in it. And I think if something is a hobby of yours, now I know very much that you are a fan of the show, you're a patron, which I thank you for, and you're clearly a fan of comedy. So I don't think you should do yourself out of something you're passionate about because your friends are clearly nerds. You know, fuck that. Go by yourself, mate. And whenever you do go, come and say hello to me. And you know, I'll chat with you. Now, albeit for a brief period of time, because normally when I'm at gigs, I'm either trying to go get on stage or go home. I never hang around at gigs or drink because, hey, I've got to go home to the girls. But come and say hello. I'd love to see you at a gig by yourself and just go and enjoy it, because plenty of people do it, and there's a real good community amongst comedy fans now here too. So you could probably go to gigs, maybe meet some people who are like-minded, and then the next thing you know, you might have had a new friend and you've someone else to go to comedy with. So there you go for it, Francis. You might be alone, but you're not alone, if that makes sense. Chris has said, oh well, would you rather know the date of your death or the cause of your death? Whoa, that is some Twilight Zone shit. I don't know. That's a tough one. Would you rather know the date of your death? I would maybe, but then it's sort of like, oh no, this stuff's going to blow my mind. It's like the butterfly effect. If you know the cause or date of your death, you know, would you try to avoid it? But if that's your destiny, can you avoid it? It's like, oh, Final Destination or something, isn't it? What would you rather know, Ben? Would you rather know the date you die or the cause of your death? It's fucking hard.
Probably the date, because I'd be more likely to forget it. Whereas if someone goes, you're going to be hit by a bus, you would shit yourself every time a bus comes down the road. Yeah. Where date, you'd probably just forget about it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm worried about dying. You know, I think the older I've got, I'm more like, when I was younger, I couldn't give a fuck. Like, it's like, yeah, if I die, I die. Whereas now I'm like, and it's not that I care about dying. It's more, I don't want my girls to be sad because of me. You know, I don't want them to be sad that I'm not there for them on certain things. So that's why, at the minute, a big focus for me this year is trying to get in shape and get healthier as I can be there for them. You know, I'd love to give them both away to the highest bidder on eBay and also on their wedding day. You know, I'd love to be able to do that. And yeah, if I knew I was going to die like in the next 10 years, I'd be fucking heartbroken. Because unless, like, you know, the kids are marrying in some foreign country that have no, like, I'm not going to see that. You know, so for me, I would probably, I would hate to know the date of my death, because I think it'd make me really sad before that. But then could I kill myself before that? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're like told, oh, you're going to die and blah blah blah, could you kill yourself before that, or will there be like some sort of final destination? Nah, don't think so, because that's when you die.
But if you were told that you got killed by choking on food or whatever,
yeah,
how comfortable would you be eating then? Because you don't know when.
Yeah,
you just know at some stage.
But then I would just eat yogurt.
Yeah, but then that doesn't matter, because at some stage food will kill you. Like, you will choke on it. Whereas, you know, a date, you can just then go, that's my date, that's my deadline, and live the best life to then. Whereas if you just know at some stage you will die eating a packet of crisps, or you would live in fear.
Chris, why have you asked me this question? This has melted my brain and made me really sad. I don't know. I just don't want to die. You know, Bill Gates, get in touch, make me live forever, please. Oisin has said, and I would think about this more, Chris, but I might cry on the podcast. And I nearly cried on a bonus episode I did with Aaron Butler. He nearly made me cry about my stupid children, so I don't want to cry again. Now, Oisin has said, does the new Cineworld have those little fucking chocolate rats? I mean, that's a hark back to what was a brilliant episode of the Boytown podcast. Do you remember that, Ben? Whenever I made Shane phone a cinema and ask about the pick-a-mix, that was probably one of the greatest phone calls of all time. But yeah, I don't know if the new Cineworld, I haven't been to the new Cineworld because I just go to the Omniplex in Bangor or Dundonald at a push. But you know, Oisin, get in touch, ring them and say, do you have those fucking little chocolate rats? That wasn't the voice he did, but I don't know what that was, but it was fun. And how long have we been going for?
50-ish.
50-ish, which, as we all know, is 50 in Irish. and I feel like we're nearly there. Couple more questions. John Joe said you'll enjoy this interview. Unfortunately, I can't click the link on this because it doesn't work for me for some stupid reason. So we'll talk about that whenever we're actually having you in to do an interview. I'm going to interview my trainer and nutritionalist, Sensei Flood, this week on the bonus episode of the podcast. So we're going to just talk about fitness, goals, motivation, training, journeys, stuff like that. And also whatever this link is he sent me as well. Look at that. Last question is from Naomi Mitchell, because it wouldn't be a podcast without a question from Naomi, and she sent me a link saying 90-day fiance, more like 90-day divorcee, probably some kind of freak. Oh shit. I tell you what, I take that back, because this woman is what you would describe as a hottie patati. Model Chris Galera married herself in a formal ceremony in September this year, but has now decided to part ways with her solo marriage after falling in love with somebody else. Tell you what this woman is. She is SEXIII sexy. But here's the thing. You can't marry yourself. That's stupid. So just, marry your new partner. But this woman here, Ben, get a photo of this woman up so people can just enjoy how she looks. Chris says she met somebody special. 33. Now, this is how I know I'm old. I look at her and was like, she's about 42. Younger than me. Shit. But Chris, who hails from Sao Paulo in Brazil, said she's since met somebody special and has started to fall in love despite vowing to go solo. I mean, I was happy while it lasted, she said. I started to believe in love the moment I met someone else. Well, you know what I mean? Here's the thing. Don't marry yourself because it's fucking weird. But, you're a pretty lady and, health to your relationship and your marriage. And I hope it goes well. And I wonder if potentially Chris is getting married to Mike, who earlier told me he's getting married in summer. That'd be a pretty cool end of things. But guys, listen, I feel this has been a fun episode. I feel I've been back to form this week. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you don't, hey, what can I do about it? Try my best. Hey, that's all we can do. You can only try your best. I may find out the cause of my death or the day I die, so who cares? We're all going to die one day. Enjoy it. Get onto the Patreon. It's a lot of fun over there. And have a good week. Take care. Bye.
I'm the sly guy.